So this is for all the beginners out there, all the novices, all the spring chickens that are like, I want to get into investing, but I don't know where to start. We've got a beginner workshop on the 16th of June. It's free, which is great.
We're going to teach you what a stock is. We're going to talk about how regularly you should be investing. We're going to talk about lots of different places you can put your money.
And what even is investing.
Yeah. It's for anyone who is thinking, I've heard this investing stuff, don't really know where to start. So we would love for you to come along. It's totally free. We'll put a link for you to register in the podcast show notes.
Welcome to The Curve Weekly, the podcast that keeps you up to date with all of the money, business and stock market tea.
Brought to you by the Curves research team. It's the latest insights on what's happening in the stock market, companies, other money-related news so that you can stay educated and ahead of the curve.
You can thank us later for sounding smarter than those finance bros at your next dinner party.
Last night, I had 2 beers. By the way, beers, lol.
Oh.
This is me sidestepping my budget into more affordable drinks.
It now makes sense.
What makes sense?
This morning, hey Vic, sorry I'm going to be late for our meeting. Hey Vic, can we push this back? Hey, we're going to cancel this record.
No. To be fair, the meeting went
and
over.
I had 2 beers last night. It's like, oh.
How bad am I on alcohol though? Like I reckon it affects me so much more than you. Like if you have 2 drinks, you're just fucking powering on. Well, you don't really have 2 drinks anymore.
I'm
though.
just like,
you're a binge
but like,
drinker.
I just think it's like, I've heard this so many times.
Yeah, but I tried a new alcohol. And
did you?
Yeah, that's
cool.
what I mean. I was like,
sorry.
I want to try a beer.
I thought you were like,
like,
I'm not going to drink again. And blah, blah,
no,
blah. And
I just
like,
feel
gosh.
so shit after 2 drinks still. And it was beer. And I thought like, it's not tequila, which I normally have. Anyway, I was just like, oh, fuck this. Anyway, on the way in, I started listening to a Diary of a CEO podcast about alcohol.
Oh, yeah.
It's so scary it's basically saying that you increase your risk of cancer by 40% by even having like a glass of, like it's like quite,
it's wild.
It's quite scary. It's almost like I think alcohol or the trend to less alcohol is having a similar trajectory to what we've seen with cigarettes. Like
Totally.
No one really knew how bad cigarettes were when we smoked them.
People smoking when they're pregnant and stuff. And it's like,
and I think the same thing's going to happen with alcohol. I reckon in 20 years, it's going to be like incredibly weird to be getting drunk or
drinking. I think zoos.
What's that?
Going to a zoo and seeing animals in captivity. Captivity.
Oh, you're right. Yeah,
like a Sea World. Like I'm just like that seems barbaric. Like that we're going to go and watch. I also think wrestling. We go and watch humans fight in a cage. I'm like, how? Like it's so.
I love how existential you're getting. Like,
sorry, it's just like there's some stuff that humanity does,
and you know that there's a part of you that feels weird about it.
Yeah,
but it's socially acceptable, so it sort of passes, but it shouldn't. I reckon the idea of animals in captivity, bizarre. Like, I mean, vapes. Surely we'll look back at it and be like, how embarrassing.
Social media.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny you say that because this morning I was thinking, as I was listening to this podcast, when I was in like radio and media, the podcast was so lame, like so lame. And, anyone that listened to a podcast was like, oh God.
I remember the first podcast was like a crime podcast that I used to listen to, driving on holiday. You would put them on the radio. Like there was no.
But see, this is what I was thinking. I was thinking, okay, back when I used to work in media, there was podcasts were uncool. And to get conversations like this, you would listen to your local radio station.
Yeah.
Now shows are global, like Diary of a CEO, anyone in the whole world can listen. I think it just made me zoom out from an investing perspective to think sometimes things can feel so weird or like surely that's not going to stick. But if you rewind back even 20 years, the idea of using a screen all day, every day, like on a laptop wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was
like
just
even
having
computers, when Apple launched the Macintosh and they wanted to get a computer in every house and everyone was like, why does everyone need a computer? And that was like one per household. And now people have like multiple. You've got your iPhone, you've got your laptop, you've got your iPad. It is crazy.
It made me think though, as I was thinking about the idea of will alcohol die a slow death with.
It already is.
As in start to really, really just become super uncool. What is going to take its place? Like, because there will be something. It's not as though, and I was like, is it chocolate mushrooms? Like what's the new thing? And do we need to be thinking about it from an investing lens? Like what's the new socially acceptable thing that people do to like let loose? Because there's going to be something.
I think it's just more this whole trend we've been seeing for the last like 5 years or even longer that was accelerated by COVID, which is just health, wellness, athleisure wear, mental health. You know, like it's like very conscious. People just being more conscious about you've got one body that you have for your life, like take care of it. You know, and I just think also as we get older, we've got a much older generation. We've got baby boomers. They're living for longer. You know, there's just like this real profound focus on health and wellness, and alcohol does not play into that.
Yeah. And it's interesting because that's, I guess, how also Diary of a CEO podcast, it used to be Stephen Bartlett recording, you know, in his house, reading his internal dialogue thoughts, and now it's evolved into kind of being a health podcast. Almost so many of his interview guests are about how to look after yourself.
Memory, weight, health, sleep. Yeah, it's like everything. Yeah.
What's been going on in the world, you know? Like this is just the inner musings of my brain.
It's a good thing to highlight is you are seeing this trend, and for people to like look inward essentially and be like, what trends am I seeing around me? Because you don't have to spot the big ones. You don't have to spot them all. Like it's like, what are those trends?
Like as an example, I was on a date last night. That's why I had 2 beers.
Oh my God, she forgot to mention that.
Well, I mean,
where did you go?
Like 2 minutes down from my house, this new pub.
Did you have like a backup, like excuse if you need
to? Do you know what? I was like, as I was walking there, I was like, I want to bail right now. Like I was seriously wanting to turn around and go home. And then I just thought, imagine standing someone up. Like imagine the cruelty of that, just like not showing up to the place that you've arranged to meet, that someone's put aside in their day. You know, I was just like, that's just awful. Who does that? But anyway, I messaged him this morning being like, oh, I feel like shit. Because I mentioned I don't drink that much when we first got there. And I found myself blubbering around being like, oh, but you're like trying to make excuses. He was like, it's fine. I don't care if you like, you don't, it's not like you're not fun because you don't drink. And I was like, God, there's still such a hang up there. You should
see me when I drink though.
I'm so much more fun. But then I was like, made some joke about like, oh, it'd be great if it was like socially acceptable to have mushrooms instead. And he was like, date 2. And I was like, imagine if that ended up being a thing where it was like, you don't go for a drink, you just go to a park and get
But also like, why do you need No, I know, that's
it's actually so true.
Yeah. And that's why I stopped drinking for a while, because I wanted to prove to myself that I could enjoy social situations without alcohol. Yes, there was a health benefit, but it was also like, I want my friends to know me, not me with alcohol.
Because she's normally just absolutely wasted, dancing on the tables. You actually were a massive partier though. Like that was.
I still am.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
You hardly ever party. Well, unless I guess we don't spend time together on the weekend anymore. But I mean, on a Monday, it doesn't seem that you are. Do you think it was because you didn't enjoy your work as much? Like, do you think that it was like a blowout repeat?
Definitely. Yeah. You can see it in people when it's like, the partying is like the escapism.
We're not saying people, we're talking about you.
Me. People. Anyway, we've talked far too long about our partying.
So this is exciting news. What we're about to talk about, I've seen all over social media in the last 24 hours, and I'm quite excited to talk about it.
And by the time this podcast comes out, it's probably going to be old news.
Yeah, but I was actually thinking we should do some kind of fast track, you know, for anyone that wants to get the podcast as soon as it's like super fresh and just, do you know what I mean? Like that would be quite, I would want that because I'm lucky. I get a front row seat. We do it and talk about it, and then it takes a couple of days.
That's a great idea.
Emily, who's listening to this podcast, can you edit quicker, please?
Yes. We have a
very engaged captive audience that want to hear this.
I mean, we could do it live.
Imagine if we did it live.
No swearing.
So difficult.
Yes, no ums.
So Hailey Bieber.
Yes.
She's had a total win.
Firstly, for those who don't know, she has just sold her skincare brand Rhode to e.l.f. Beauty for $1 billion. And you're right, it's been all over social media. You know, the images have been her, you know, Hailey Bieber sells a beauty brand for $1 billion.
Oh, I see where this is going.
And it's been picked up from a lot of news outlets anyway. And then slowly people were like, well, hang on. She hasn't actually made $1 billion. Let's break it down. Let's actually show you how much she's made out of this deal.
Does she have a co-founder?
Yeah, so she's got 2 co-founders, which I think are a couple because they've got the same last name, or brother and sister. But the deal is that Rhode, the business, gets $800 million in cash, and then $200 million is based on the future performance of Rhode under the e.l.f. name. So it's like, it'd be like someone buying the Curve for being like, you know what, we need you to hit these targets over the next 3 years. Then
Otherwise, you don't get your bonus, basically.
yeah, it's like you'll get the other 200 because we don't want you to just sell it to us and then be like, see you later.
Well, because she's the face of it too. So
yeah, and she's in there as well as a creative director and all of that. So head of innovation. So she's going to have a lot of
pressure to perform.
Yeah. Well, there's an extra 200 million on the line, essentially. The thing is, this is a private company, right? So all this information is kind of gathered together from different sources and everyone's kind of speculating. But it did only launch 3 years ago. So even getting that 800 million cash and 200 million in, the bonus is pretty incredible for a 3-year-old business. But you're right. She's got 2 other co-founders. You got tax, all this other stuff. So anyway, people are estimating that she's probably got somewhere around 500 to 700 million of this deal.
That's way less than 500 to 700 million is still an enormous amount of money, but $1 billion is wild.
Yeah, exactly. And it's still massive, don't get me wrong. But the flip side of this is like everyone was jumping to be like, but she didn't actually get $1 billion. It's like, why do we have to? She's still built an incredible business. Whether it's $1 billion, whether it's 700 million, it's like that is still incredibly massive that she's built a business in 3 years that sold for even 100 million is amazing. Do you know what I mean? I just feel like, maybe I'm just reading into it too much, but like,
I know. I see where you're going. I guess my take is that this is a Hollywood star, or not really, but she's very famous and PR is a very powerful thing.
Oh, definitely.
And there will be a lot of media planning that's gone into the way that this has been presented.
100%,
So it is interesting to look at it and think, okay, what are the facts? And breaking this down, what does it mean? Rather than just taking it at face value.
Even little things, right? Like it's essentially sold to 800 million.
How many millions are in $1 billion?
$1 billion is...
$1 million?
No, it's 1,000. So
it's pretty close.
Yeah, but it's like
200 million
the headline of selling road for $1 billion is much better than the headline selling road for 800 million.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like little
rounding
things like
up.
that. You're so right. It's such a PR thing as well. But like she's got 55 million followers. So she could honestly sell toilet paper to her followers.
But
do you know
do you think that is discrediting by just saying that? Do you think it's discrediting the fact that she could have just sold whatever she wanted? Because if I look at this beauty brand, I actually think she's done she and her co-founders have done an amazing job. And who knows how involved she actually has been, but...
No, and here I am being like, why can't we just celebrate females?
Why can't we tear it down? And then you're like, she can sell toilet paper.
No, I'm saying, I guess what I was trying to get at is like we've seen Selena Gomez, who's got, nearly 400 million followers. We've seen Kim Kardashian with, again, nearly 400 million followers. Ariana Grande, like they've all had these incredible skincare brands that have sold for, Selena's was $2 billion. Well, sorry, valued at $2 billion, hasn't sold yet. But like Skims is valued at about $3 billion. So they're all operating these really incredible businesses, but they've also got really incredible platforms. And it just comes back to like
sales and marketing, baby.
Yeah, it's like you've literally got this storefront with 400 million people. It's you kind of leapfrogged so much of what someone without that, I don't know, I was just kind of saying like the following is like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's so many ways to fast track a brand. Some of those being access to, let's say you create a lip gloss and you have access to get it into all the targets in America. Like you're fast tracking the to consumer route. But and with Hailey and Selena and blah, 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 they're fast tracking the brand growth because they instantly get access to so many more people. And for a lot of brands, you have to spend a lot of money to get that many people's eyeballs to see your brand. So,
and I think what this shows as well, and I don't mean to discredit it, and I didn't mean to discredit it in that way, is like it's so awesome to see so many female founders really growing incredible businesses in skincare, in fashion, and like in these industries.
Well, they're becoming business owners rather than just faces of like beautiful people.
They're seeing opportunities of gaps in the market in industries they use and use regularly. Like skincare has been like a booming industry for like so many years and they're riding that wave. And I don't know, I just feel like, yay, finally we're getting a bit more, I guess, involved.
I like it too. I guess the one thing I would say is I would love to see some of these businesses not playing into the aesthetics of what women should look like, because the idea that these are basically always makeup or skincare or suck me in fat leotards is kind of also like we're also playing into the same issue.
No, that's fair.
But you know, I'm also not discrediting it. I think that what they've done is amazing. But I think what's awesome is just the representation of even the headline, Hailey Bieber sells business for $1 billion. What that does for women, seeing other women selling
100%.
businesses, it just inspires people to think, if she's in business, I could be too. And I think inherently what is so masculine to see so many awesome women rising in business is really cool.
And it's like we're seeing more and more successful female entrepreneurs, and it's really, really great. And I think this is also a really interesting point, is that all of these famous people could have taken an endorsement deal and not created their own brands bought into a brand. And I think there's a education piece around here of, you know, you create much more value when you're actually invested in something because your interests are aligned. If you've got co-founders or you do it yourself, like if you believe in a product or a service or a business enough, you know, we should be asking for or wanting to invest in those businesses so that we benefit in the massive upside rather than just being paid a couple of thousand or even $1 million for them.
Not a lot of us have 55 million followers.
No.
So
no, but I'm saying even at a small business level, you know, if you're being brought on as an employee and you're really passionate about the business and you want to invest, you know, talk to the owner or talk to the person that owns the business and say, you know, how you can bring value and actually invest in the business and be part of the upside and like the growth of that business.
Do you mean putting money into the business? Do you mean asking for shares?
Or any way. If you're like, I see such an opportunity for this business and I want to invest, or I want to be compensated because of the value that I bring through equity, not just being paid. Like there's so much more value to be created.
Than just a paycheck.
Yeah, than just a paycheck. Like I guess the growth is much bigger than it will ever be if you're just being paid for your time. I
would love to speak to someone who is really across this space because
agreed.
God, it would be amazing to get her on. So for anyone that doesn't know, she's Skims co-founder. So she works really closely with the Kardashians. But there is this huge surge towards celebrity businesses where, just as you said, like they've got this huge amount of eyeballs or audience to sell to. So people go to them and say like, hey, I've got this great business idea. Do you want to be a co-founder? And basically they do all the marketing and stuff. But it's happening everywhere. Almost every celebrity now is also a business owner, which is so clever. But I'd love to hear from someone who can actually shed light on how involved are the celebrities in the business compared to what it looks like. Because, you know, like Millie Bobby Brown, for example.
Yeah.
You know, she's Stranger Things, British, like childhood star, whatever. And, you know, yes, she's married this really, really wealthy guy. And she's also super wealthy in her own right from acting. But like, what's her brand? It's like Florence by Mills or something is her. And she's like brought out coffee, you know, she's brought out clothes and she's brought out skincare and blah, blah, blah. How much of that are they the brains or involved? And how much is it just literally like your go-to-market marketing strategy is?
And I think it depends with different celebrities, right? Because I feel like the ones that have really good managers or like advisors or themselves being like, oh, actually, this mug brand, if you had a really good advisor or, you know, management team or people around you that were like, so if this mug company wants you to endorse it for, say, $10,000, but I think you should buy it because of X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
Like that can really change your wealth, but also it's more of a partnership, right? It's a genuine partnership rather than just like and I think gone are the days where people actually fall for a lot of hashtag ads on Instagram, you know, like they want to see almost commitment from the celebrity that it's like, I truly endorse this. And I love it so much more now when influencers or content creators are like, this is not paid. I just genuinely really, really love their product.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, thank goodness. Whereas, that should be the norm, but it's not. While we're talking about what's going on in America, there is a potential new act coming out that is going to give every child $1,000 when they're born.
This is so outrageous and so cool.
And not just given, it's actually invested in the S&P 500. So it's not just cash. Hey, well done. And like we've spoken about this, right? Like there's so many countries encouraging women to have more children because of declining birth rates, and they're giving out cash.
But that's the parents normally, right?
Yeah.
Whereas this is going straight into a kid's account, or is it going to the parents?
No, well, I mean, it's parents are the guardian of the child.
Yeah, but that's a really interesting point though, is because up until now, like we've spoken about this in China, for example, and it's like they get paid whatever it is per child, or trying to encourage parents to have more kids. When I first read this, and I might have totally misinterpreted it, I thought that it was saying that the money invested was being invested for the kid.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But I guess what I'm saying is like there are so many reasons why we've got declining birth rates at the moment, right? And one of them is that it's just so expensive to have a child. Whereas this is reducing that burden of having a child in a really interesting way, because it's like if you gave every child in America $1,000 when they were born, and let's be honest, there's 3.7 million children in America born every year. So that would be nearly a $4 billion payment each year by the government. So that $1,000 per child invested in the S&P 500 for 65 years, by the time they reach retirement, they would have $500,000.
How is that benefiting the parent? Isn't that just benefiting the child? Like I thought the point was they were trying to bribe parents into having kids.
Yes.
Whereas this is like amazing.
This is just to alleviate the
pressure
cost of retirement on people, on government, on healthcare.
I mean, it's genius. I think it's such a good idea.
It's just like investing $1,000 for 65 years and not touching it, and waking up at retirement and having $500,000.
Is that just from 1,000 being put in and nothing touched?
If you put in an annual amount of $750 for that 65 years, so $750 every year, it would be $4.5 million.
Just like, I would love to know how many people in our audience have kids. Like we need to know this, and maybe we do like a quick little survey. Can you please, we're going to put this in our podcast show notes, so wherever you're listening, can you let us know, do you have kids? Yes or no? And do you plan on having kids? Yes or no? And if you already do, would love to know if you're investing on behalf of your kids, because I think this is absolutely game changing. Like the idea that we are setting kids up for financial freedom and to understand investing and take part in the economy from being a baby.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's incredible.
Yeah. And like, yes, people might be like, well, that's $4 billion from the government each year that they need to find, essentially. Do you know what I mean? Because they've got to pay for this $1,000 per child. But what the government will be looking at is like, what cost savings will that have in terms of like, we won't have to pay people as much in terms of their pensions, or like, you know, all of that kind of stuff will be played into it. But I agree. I think it is the positive impact it will have of getting kids interested in investing.
Outweighs.
Totally. Yeah.
But also it would far outweigh the reliance on the government to look after those people.
100%.
Right? Like it's like, it's kind of, it seems like one of those things where someone tells you and you're like, why have we not done that
Or like
before?
start with $100, you know? And we'll like start with,
So will this go through, or is it just being spoken about?
It's been spoken about. But
how long does stuff like this normally take? Like, is it a 5-year situation?
Nah.
Also, is this a Donald Trump special?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the stupidest one that he's had.
Yeah.
That's quite a good idea.
One of the, I guess, things that I read when I was reading this was that over 50% of Americans don't have an investment account and they're not investing in the stock market. So this giving like
it's automatic.
I guess the mechanics of it. Do you know what I mean? Like if half of your population don't even have an investment account. I don't know. But
maybe it's similar to pension or all the other things that like it's auto enrollment.
Or you don't give it out, right? It's just like
it's opened in
Sophie,
your name.
We wrote down that you were born in 1990.
Oh.
When you retire,
they pay you out.
We'll pay you out. Yeah. Which could be that'll probably be the way they'll do it.
Yeah, imagine if they had an investing account for the whole country. So it was like they put $1,000 to every person born. Imagine how much money there would be. But I think the idea of having it under your own name gives you the autonomy and the less reliance on the government,
and
right?
it's the education piece, right? It's not like,
Otherwise,
cool, I'm going to get a government payout of
it's like being a trust fund baby from the moment you're born. You're just like, I don't care. I'm going to get my money when I'm older. Like, it's not really what we're going for.
Yes. So we want to know how many people in the audience actually have kids and how many people would be interested in this if this was put into practice in their country. So let us know.
Yeah.
We'll put a link in the podcast show notes.
Yeah, please tell us because it's. I think this is super interesting. It is quite hard to, I don't know, open accounts for kids, think about how you teach kids, but it would be quite a game changer.
Definitely.
If you had an easier way to teach them. I feel like a lot of us have kind of got to this age and been like,
and then imagine if like grandparents could contribute and aunties and uncles instead of getting cheap crap for your birthdays and stuff. Oh.
Yeah, we actually
the world will be such an incredible place if all these initiatives went through and like fast forward 65 years. A less endearing Donald Trump special is, I just feel like we've spoken about him so much and it's only like a few months into his tenure.
Is it weird that I'm kind of, I think I hate, but I love it. I don't like him and I don't like what he's doing, but I'm finding this is almost like my foray into being really involved in the stock market and politics.
I like how he's doing stuff that we can talk about, that we can like educate
it's interesting.
on. It's like, yeah.
I mean, this has been conversation, what we're about to talk about around like the dinner table at home in my flat, you know, like some of the decisions that he's making with regards to education and universities is like a little bit scary. So I don't know heaps about this, but essentially there's some question marks around him trying to pull funding from specific Ivy League schools, right?
Yes. And I think the thing that made me kind of sit up and go, okay, this is actually getting a lot of momentum was more recently, Trump has blocked Harvard from enrolling international students. So just to wind back, so the Donald Trump administration had ordered all federal agencies to cut ties with Harvard. So he's got this bee in his bonnet with kind of elite universities, Harvard in particular, and he was like, you know what? I'm going to put a political order in place to say that you can't work with Harvard. So what I mean by that is like, the government gives a lot of funding to and has a lot of programs and partnerships with Harvard and with universities for health research, for example. So, you know, to do like clinical research on drugs and stuff like that, training programs, education initiatives. Like there's a lot that goes on that governments, I guess, work with universities on anywhere in the world.
Why is that? Is it because some of the smartest people in the world are at those universities and it's the forefront of research and innovation?
Yep. And they've got the facilities and they've got like all of that. Yeah, the government gives grants to the likes of universities to go away and do research on stuff. So all of that. And so anyway, this is like $100 million that he has stopped from going to Harvard for.
$100 million.
Yeah. So, and he said they were cancelled immediately, right? So if you were in the middle of like, I don't know, some 5-year research project and you're in the final stages and then you got your funding cut, like.
So sorry, is his whole reason he's done that because Harvard isn't following his instructions to block international students? They were like, no, we're not doing that. And then he was like, fine, then I'm taking your funding away.
It's kind of a step before that, is that he thinks that Harvard is being, I guess, unfairly biased in terms of its admission process. So it's unfairly admitting people from internationally. And, you know, he's had this huge clampdown on diversity and inclusion and everything like that. And he's like, Harvard is not doing as it's told. I'm going to cut its funding.
So this is what my flatmates and I were talking about. And they were saying Harvard is like, you know, probably the epicenter of some of the smartest, most intelligent, probably non-Trump voting people in the world / America, obviously. But that they were like, we're absolutely not limiting the brains that come here. We want the best in the world, and that's what we're known for. Whereas Trump is saying, well, all of that attention and education should only be poured into American people.
And it's coming back to what he's trying to do, right? Is like make America great again, make America wealthy again. Like he's saying we should be able to fish in our own pond. We shouldn't have to go and bring in international people into America to do this. So he's blocked Harvard from enrolling international students, which it actually overturned. So the Supreme Court overturned that because
did it? Thank God.
there was it started this whole campaign of like, at what point does the government agencies, are they not allowed to step in terms of education? Do you know what I mean? Like the education should have free reign to operate in its own almost echo chamber because of like academic freedom and all of that. And there's been a big backlash saying that they've overstepped their mark, essentially. You cannot dictate rules and regulations around education.
Oh, God, thank God, honestly, because I feel like, I don't know, I the more that I hear this type of thing creeping up, I'm just flashing forward in terms of like, he changed the fact that he's only allowed to be elected twice. Like if there was a way where he could stay in power.
Oh, yeah.
We could be like literally at the start of a very scary history book right now.
100%. And I am like so thankful that the Supreme Court stepped in and overruled this, because it could have started something pretty serious in terms of, okay, he won. And 25% of students at Harvard come from international places, and that's how they get a lot of their money, because international students pay way more than domestic students.
So what does this $100 million cut from the government mean in terms of how Harvard can or can't operate moving forward? Because if they're going to continue having international students, but they've had this enormous funding cut, like how are they going to operate?
Well, that's just the contracts, right, that it's got. So it's stopped 100 million of contracts. There's $3.2 billion of research grants that the government's already frozen. So it's
what? So that's on top of that.
Yeah. So that's like one part of it. So there's like a contract with a university, but there's also ongoing like previous research grants, et cetera, that are all being cut. So it's like, it's freaking massive. And how universities operate is they get they have these endowment funds, which is essentially funds that they will use for scholarships and that kind of thing. And because it is essentially a quote unquote charity, you don't have to pay tax on endowment funds. And Harvard has a $53 billion endowment fund, which the government is now saying it might have to pay tax on. So it's like, it's kind of hitting it from all angles, I guess, is kind of what I'm saying.
Is there a chance that Harvard just has to fold because they actually won't be able to function?
I think you'd fight it till the cows come home.
Because honestly, I think if he gets his way with this and Harvard has to fall, like it is.
Oh, it's major.
That's like.
And then also there is already quite a kind of racist undertone going on in America in certain parts. And yeah, if Trump was controlling a university, I personally wouldn't want to go there. So it's not only that they've blocked 25% of international students going there, it's like, who else is now not going to want to come?
Oh my God.
You know,
because it's
like,
the idea that the people that are going to get educated or in there are, you know, your Donald Trump diehards.
Well, it's all controlled. It's like the news and media outlets, right? If they're controlled by Trump, what you get taught is about, you know, it's very Trump-sided. And so it's a whole freedom of speech argument now as well.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Politicians and governments should not control education providers because there is an element of, freedom of speech. So anyway, watch this space.
Gosh.
So another funny headline that I read, OnlyFans is for sale.
I want to buy it.
Do you have a spare $8 billion?
I was going to say, yeah, what's it going for? Slightly out of my budget.
I mean, Hailey Bieber could buy 1/8 of it now.
$8 billion?
Yeah.
Is that how much that platform's worth?
Yeah.
What's that comparatively to other content platforms like Instagram, Facebook? Like, is it way, way, way less?
Yeah, well, Facebook's like $1 trillion.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Still, $8 billion's bloody impressive.
So, yeah. They actually had a talk of doing an IPO, so like publicly listing on the stock market so that anyone could buy shares in 2022. But because it's effectively a pornography business.
Okay.
It's just like
a lot of people would be banned from being able to invest in it.
Exactly. So the demand, like the reason you go public and you invest on the stock exchange just because there's a lot of demand, a lot of investors that
you want to democratize.
It's like taking our farmers market analogy, right? It's like there would be a lot of people that wouldn't even be now allowed near your stall to buy your products. So
you might need to just explain on what the farmers market.
So the farmers market is essentially how we describe the stock exchange, where it's a centralized place where everyone comes to buy and sell goods. So they're buying their shares, they're selling their shares, you're buying bananas, you're selling bananas, and everyone comes to the same place. But I guess imagine that there's one stall that's kind of a bit.
Everyone's selling stuff in their underwear?
Yeah, and
There's
the parents are kind of hiding the children and scurrying them away around the other side of the market. Like that's kind of, you're just not going to get as many
also for
customers.
context, I guess, you know, like when it comes to your investing approach or your investing lens, everyone has their negotiables or non-negotiables. So, a lot of people don't like investing in tobacco. A lot of people don't like investing in alcohol. A lot of people don't like gambling, blah, 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 blah. So the idea here is that OnlyFans, even though I guess it is pornography, right? Like
and a lot of like corporates or institutions like governments
who invest a lot of money in the stock market it would be a no-go for them. It would be a
no-go for them. So you're kind of, it's not as, I guess, as attractive as a t-shirt brand.
Because there's just less interested buyers.
Yeah. But the interesting thing is that this OnlyFans was launched in 2016 and then it was bought by the current owner in 2018. And when it was bought in 2018, it had 4 million creators on it, which is massive. And now it's got over 300 million. So I find it so funny when it's like, I'm going to start an OnlyFans. I'm like, good luck getting visibility in the 300 million people that are on there.
Yeah, but then think about how many people are on Instagram. True. Everyone opens a business and starts an Instagram account.
It's just funny how people say off the cuff, it's like OnlyFans creators put a lot of time and effort into their content.
Oh my God, let's plug our OnlyFans conversation for anyone that hasn't listened. Because she was incredible.
And she's made an incredible
race
property portfolio and like she's got an incredible investment portfolio.
We'll link the episode to YouTube so you can see her too because she's beautiful.
Yeah.
But it's making 1 million in 1 year on OnlyFans with Grace Wesley's. And do you know what? It will just give you so much admiration and respect for the fact that like you're not just taking your top off. Don't trick yourself into thinking that like your toes are that good because there's a lot more business and planning and everything involved in OnlyFans than people think.
I think that's with any content creator, right? Like I tried to do a day in the life the other day and gosh, you just have to constantly be filming yourself.
It's exhausting.
And it's like the number of times I've done my morning in the life of and then completely forgotten to the afternoon.
It's so much work. Oh. I agree. I think that unless you've tried working in content, you think it's like this real frivolous, stupid thing. It's like it's actually very hard to do it well. Like I look at some of the people on TikTok and I'm like, they make it look so easy and it is not.
Anyway, the person that is rumoured to be going to buy OnlyFans is Conor McGregor.
Why does it sound like a fighter?
Yeah.
It's a fighter.
Boxer.
No.
Yeah. And he's like,
it's so crack up that it's a guy.
I know. And anyway, it was just quite funny that it's
Conor McGregor.
He came out of the woodwork to buy OnlyFans.
Sorry, but like, what are you going to do with OnlyFans? Do you know, like, why are you buying it?
I know. Yeah, I reckon it'd be
Irish mixed martial art.
Yeah, I reckon it would be more of a power
it's kind of cute.
You know?
Oh, like owning all of
them.
I own 300 million.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Anyway.
Is he still fighting? What's the vibe with that?
I don't know, he kind of shot to fame in COVID, and then
but he's got quite a good bone structure, doesn't he?
Are you kidding? You find him attractive?
Like, I mean, some of these.
Wow.
No, hold on, wait.
I would
look at the bone structure. Also, sorry, have you ever been to a boxing class? It is so hard.
Oh,
like it is so hard, not just fitness wise, but they're like 3, 2, 4, 1, 5, 2, 4, and I'm like, oh my God, I just can't even remember what number I'm on. I'm like 1, 2, far out, fully forgotten.
I remember that. Yeah, in Auckland, I used to go to boxing, and then the instructor would kind of walk around. I'd always be at the back, and the instructor would walk around and be like, oh my God, he's coming. 1, 2, what was it? Oh shit. And then he's like, no, Vic, 1, 3, 5, 7, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I went up and gave feedback at the end of class.
He's like, and then there's like freestyle. I'm like, oh, thank goodness.
Yeah, same. Don't need to pretend I'm trying to follow the sequence.
Everyone's bags is moving and mine's just like.
Honestly, interestingly, mine sways, but I don't think it's meant to. Like I think that's not a good sign of like you're doing it well because no one else seems to be grabbing their bag to make it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's also like there is quite a technique, and I remember thinking like, I got this. And looking at other people and being like, you definitely don't have this. Then looking at myself in the mirror and going, oh, wow, I definitely don't have this.
I think I've actually thought a lot. I would really like to learn some kind of self-defense. I think there's something quite amazing about martial art. Like there's a few which I think
Karate.
And I don't know if it's
What's that off? That's off a movie.
Is it?
Karate.
I don't know if you're being racist.
No, it's like off like a Bridesmaids or something. She's like, oh no, that's probably just Aglenia Social. I don't know. You know, just,
that's definitely racist.
No, it's what the speech she does.
The bridesmaid when she's like, and
yeah. No, but I really wanted to do self-defense when I was younger. And my mum goes, well, that's not going to be any good if you just get hit over the back of the head. I was like, Mum.
Eileen says some rogue shit
I was just also like, yes. I didn't really have a comeback. So I was like, okay. I just don't think she wanted to take me to classes.
I reckon I'd love to get a group of women together who are keen to learn that. I think it's I think it would make me feel powerful in times where I feel vulnerable. You know, like if it's a dark night and I'm walking home, if I knew some moves, I would feel.
I put my key in. Do you put your key in between your fingers?
Yeah, that's so sad. We have to do that, isn't it? It's like, it's such a universal fear, isn't it? What else?
Just one little quick anecdote, which is quite funny. There's a rise in stay-at-home sons.
What?
Instead of stay-at-home mums, it's stay-at-home sons.
Is this men that don't move out of their house and they live with their parents forever?
Yeah, and they're unemployed and
Sexy.
So sexy. Where are they? Get me one.
Hinge. Okay, stay-at-home sons.
Right, left. But it's actually a term now in the Urban Dictionary. Like it's a stay-at-home son. It came about at the same time with like quiet quitting, which is like kind of this whole, I'm just going to turn up at my job, just going to do the bare minimum essentially because, you know, it was a kind of a TikTok trend that happened a few years ago. And
quiet quitting.
It's called quiet quitting. And
what is it? Do you just quit without telling them? You just don't turn up to work?
It's more like you're not going to get caught up in like the hustle and the stress of your job, you know, like it's all.
So it's almost the idea of like, yeah, I'll turn up. Yeah, I'll go to work, but I'm kind of checked out anyway.
Yeah.
Sort of?
Kind of like the Gen Z, like, oh, my boundaries, you know, like, that's what it's referring to is like, no, it's time for me to go home now. You know?
But is that the same thing though? Because I feel like is that actually the same thing? Is quiet quitting it's not agendered. There's nothing to do with stay-at-home sons.
No. It's just like, it's just like kind of there's been some really funny terms that have come about recently over the last few years.
I'd like to say for the record, for any Gen Zs that are listening that are like, F you, I work hard. Our producer Emily is Gen Z and she is the hardest worker ever.
Yeah.
I don't think
we're making a huge generalization.
And I honestly, until she started working for us, maybe I did have that mentality where I was because I had seen it. I've seen it in a few people like where you're like, oh my God, the hustle is non-existent. Like there's obviously a line. You don't want people that are.
There's like also millennials that do that, right, as well. There's also in every generation there's people that do that. It's just I think there's a big emphasis on like boundaries, work-life balance, and like when you're younger, like that's when you kind of have to prove yourself a bit more. And that's like you can obviously have that when you're older and you're a bit more established in your career and your job. Anyway, so this is kind of the stay-at-home son is a term to describe kind of a very unmotivated man-child. And there's been some data out that's kind of supported this uprise.
This is so funny.
In the stay-at-home son. And it is that the unemployment rate in the US of 20 to 24-year-olds is 8.2%, which is pretty high. And like for countries, having a high youth unemployment rate leads to, you know, a lot of really, really bad issues like suicide, crime, you know, because they don't have jobs for independence and motivation and all of that. So it is really bad. But it's even worse for men. So men in that 20 to 24 year age group. So for once, it's like women are the most employed out of that 20 to 24-year-old age group. And there is this bigger increase in unemployment in men, which has kind of brought about this term again of these stay-at-home sons.
This is like the funniest news.
So it's funny, but it's also concerning if it keeps getting worse and worse. But yeah, it is. But it's also like
why are they staying at home? I don't get it. Like,
They
why
can't find
is it-
jobs.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, it's not that funny.
But
No.
it's a combination of probably lack of motivation as well as.
And mummy will look after me.
Yeah. And I think has to be an element of like parents here pushing out the sons from the family home, you know, like, stay with me. And I know certain cultures, like that's actually a thing, but I think, yeah.
Does it have anything to do with the idea that it's too expensive to move out of home? So people just stay home and they're staying home later than they would have 10 to 15
Yeah, there
years
is
ago?
that natural trend. I just think it's funny, the term stay-at-home sons.
Stay-at-home sons. They always talk about there being weird relationships between mothers and their sons, don't they?
Oh,
like
yeah.
my brother's definitely the golden child.
But does he have a weird relationship?
No, but he's definitely the favourite.
There is actually I reckon, a thin line between respecting your mother and caring for your mother and hanging out with your mum all the time. And I think it's like quite a creepy line.
What do you mean?
Like, it's great. Like a son that respects his mum and respects women and all of that is amazing.
Yeah.
But I feel like very quickly
It becomes weird.
it could become weird if it's too far in one extreme.
I hope if I have a son one day, he like worships the ground I walk on and thinks I'm amazing. And
But
wants
you
to
don't
hang
want
out with me.
All the time. I would
I mean,
be like,
not all the time, but like, how many men have you met that always hang out with their mums? Like,
no,
it's-
but like there's a few I know.
Really?
And it's like concerning. Because at first you're like, oh my God, that's so nice. And you're like, oh.
like calls them 17 times a day.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Like can't do anything themselves.
Yeah. And that's when
Doesn't know how to turn the laundry on, that kind of thing.
turn the laundry on.
You know, like can't figure out the washing
Oh,
machine.
yeah.
Calls
yeah.
mum.
Yeah.
Is it that kind of
Yeah.
thing?
There's a level of independence
Right.
with men and women as well. Yeah, there can be a bit of.
Oh, this is so contentious. I reckon there'll be so many people that are annoyed at what we're
I know.
talking about.
Same, being like, oh, enragement equals engagement. But yeah, no, I just also the term stay-at-home mum. It's like it is quite.
It's got to go.
It's just like it. In my view,
Should we start saying stay-at-home daddies or something?
well, it just in my view, stay at home. It's like it insinuates
It's quite
you're doing nothing at home, and for a lot of mothers, when you were staying at home, you were doing nothing but a full-time, sometimes 24-hour job.
exhausting, yeah.
And so, I mean, we're doing that, right? We're saying stay at home son, lol, you're doing nothing. But yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
It's
Anyway.
so funny because on one side I'm like, oh, everyone can just get over it. It's just a fun, lighthearted term.
Yeah.
With the stay-at-home sons, and then when stay-at-home mums, I'm like, they can absolutely, that goes in the bin. Get fucked.
Yeah.
Big Curve Weekly.
Big Curve Weekly.
Big Curve Weekly. I enjoyed it. I'm really sorry for my shit chat. I
No.
feel like
That's fine.
the rule for me can be never have a date or an alcoholic beverage the day before a podcast
Or
record.
just bring it into the podcast record.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
date and the drink.
Oh my, nah. Oh my
Imagine
God.
if you were like, oh, can we just stop in to this studio I've just got to.
So my sister crashed the date.
Oh,
She,
wow.
no joke, was like walking past, saw me at the pub.
Oh, unintentionally.
Well, I think she did it on purpose.
She definitely did.
I
on
turned around and I
purpose.
just saw this floating face, and it was Lucy, and I was like,
I
what
know
are you
your sister,
doing?
and she would be like, oh, Sophie.
it was
what
quite
you doing?
funny. So she came and joined us, and then so did this other friend of his. I was like,
Fun.
quite fun.
I like that.
Yeah.
I had a date where I had to invite my friends because my date fell asleep at the table.
What?
He was ordering 2 drinks to every one of mine.
Is this someone?
This was
When was it? How long
a
was
while
it?
ago.
He fell asleep on
He
the
was
date.
ordering 2 drinks to every one of mine, and he must have been so nervous. And then he was so drunk, he fell asleep at the table, and I didn't know what to do.
So
and
you were
I'd-
like, hello.
I'd invited
friend.
friends, and
He fell asleep at the table. That's so alarming.
so alarming. Like,
I feel kind of sorry for him.
I don't.
That's sad. You know, like,
The fact that you were that nervous that you had to drink 2 drinks.
oh, but I sorry, I was going back more to the like alcoholism and the
Oh,
start of
yeah,
this
yeah.
conversation
Oh, yeah.
of like, anyway, God, full circle.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to The Curve Weekly. Make sure you hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with all the money, biz and stock market news. And if you like what you heard, we would love a review. Thank you.
Yes, we would love a review, but if you
Only
did
a good
hate
one.
it, please, don't leave one if you hate it. No, but in all seriousness, could you please leave a review because it really helps other people find our cute little podcast.
And we hope you have a good week and see you next Monday.
Bye.
Bye. Sweet. Yeah. See you next Tuesday. Lol. See you next Tuesday. I mean Monday.
No, actually, though, new episodes out every Tuesday. Okay, quickly. The Curve was created to empower and educate you about investing, but we are not financial advisors.
Our platform exists for educational purposes only, and it doesn't provide personalized investing advice for your individual needs and should not be relied upon to make an investment or financial decision.
And always remember to do your own research before making any investment or financial decision.
We're here for any knowledge and support you need, but the final call is always yours.
And thanks for being here.
You got this.
Yeah, we know you got this.